Hi, friends. This is Steve at newcompasscrypto.com. Thank you for joining us. Today, we're going to be talking about price predictions for both the stock market and a little bit about Bitcoin for 2023. Before we do that, though, have you ever been divorced, or do you know anyone who's ever been divorced? The fascinating thing about that process is that everyone knows going into a marriage that marriages, the divorce rate's 50%, half of them end in divorce. And the divorce rates are even higher for second and third marriages. But on their wedding day, very, very few people think they're ever going to get a divorce. What they think is, our marriage is the one that is going to defy the odds. I don't care about all the statistics. I don't care about everyone I know who's divorced. I don't care about my parents who are divorced. We're not going to get divorced because we're in love and we're always going to be in love, and that's all that matters. And 5 years later, they're divorced. So it doesn't mean, that's a fascinating thing, because the same thing happens in stock markets. Human beings are notoriously bad at predicting the future. They're as bad at predicting the future as, let's say, a two-dimensional creature can visualize a three-dimensional space. Or for us who live in three-dimensional spaces, to envision a fourth dimension. Those are very, very hard things to do. It's hard to even wrap your mind around them for a couple of minutes. Furthermore, you know that's going to become your reality. So what were the stock market predictions for the beginning of the year? And where are they now? Well, last year at this time in December, the stock market predictions for 2022, according to Goldman Sachs, were that the S&P 500 was going to end at 5,100. Morgan Stanley, of the major people, was the most bearish. They were the most people that thought it was going to be negative. And they thought it was going to be 4,400. It's currently today at 3,835. Overall, analysts are on target to miss this year's predictions by 40%. That's crazy. They're paid an awful lot of money, have an awful lot of computers, and have an awful lot of data, and they're still not able to get it right. Now, could they predict that oil, which was back then about $70 a gallon, a barrel, was going to go up to $130 a barrel, and then was going to come back down to 70? Probably not. And you can say, well, this year was a crazy year. Putin invaded Ukraine, and, who knew that interest rates were going to go through the roof? And therefore, they can be allowed to miss this year. The fascinating thing is that for next year, the predictions from Barclays is that the S&P 500 is going to be at 3,725, Citigroup 3,900, Bank of America 4,000, Goldman Sachs 4,000, and JP Morgan 4,200. They're all right around 4,000, give or take a little bit. Now, for the past 20 years, in 13 of the years, analysts have predicted the price to be lower of the S&P 500. And for 7 years, they've missed it high. Not 1 year have they come in within 5% of target. That's a lot. Those are huge misses. The average miss has been by 8.3%, and this year, 40%. So what does this say about what's going to happen next year, the year after, and the year after that? And why are human beings so bad at predicting the future? Well, psychologists have this phenomenon, and they call it the tyranny of the present, meaning the way you feel today, or the way that you think you feel today, is the way you think you're going to feel in the future. I'm getting married today. I love my partner so much. We're so happy. We don't argue. So it's always going to be like this, even though intellectually it's not. but you feel it so strongly that you're willing to gather your family, your friends, pay lots of money to have a very public declaration of it. That's the way stock markets are too. That the way stock markets are today, interest rates are high, and there's a fear of international, instability, and there's a fear of a global recession. And that's how all of us feel today, or how a majority of analysts feel today. Therefore, that's what it's going to be like a year from now. Despite the fact that in 20 years, not 1 year have analysts gotten a prediction right. That's insane. So most analysts for 2023 are predicting that interest rates, which are right around 4.75%, are going to be at around 5%, that inflation is going to remain what they call sticky, meaning inflation is going to remain high. Now, it's not going to be at the 9% that it was back in the early part of the year, but it's going to be, around 5%. And that in and of itself is going to keep the stock markets from being too bullish and from taking off. That's why the predictions are what they are. But interest rates at 5%, inflation at 5%, but unemployment's going to stay at 3.5% or 3.7%, which is what it is right now. In a lot of decades, that would be cause for celebration. The stock market would be booming. We just think it's bad this year because interest rates were at 2% last year. And inflation was at 2% last year, or interest rates actually were at 0% last year. And inflation was at 2% for the last several years. So compared to that, 5 looks astronomical. Historically, it's not bad at all, especially when the unemployment rate is 3%. I don't know what the markets are going to do next year. My guess is that we're going to have a flat beginning, meaning the first and second quarter for the first 6 months, and then that we're going to end up fairly strong. When I say fairly strong, I do mean I don't think we're going to end up at around 4,000. I think we're going to end up at around 4,500. Now, what does this say for the price of Bitcoin? I'm not going to go into it too deeply this session. That's what I'm going to do next week. But right now, the narrative about Bitcoin is it's going nowhere. It's a scam. It's full of thieves. The only thing it's good for is money laundering. I'm not going to get into it. I put money into it and I lost money. And therefore, I'm never getting into it again. Therefore, what argument could you make that the price is going to go up? The same argument, people getting married every day. And the same argument that even if you've never gotten divorced, you've had a really big meal, Thanksgiving, some other meal, and you overindulged. You've eaten too much. You drank too much. And at the end of the meal, you say with absolute certainty, I am never eating this much again. Oh, I don't feel good. I feel sick. Oh, I drank too much last night. I'm never, ever drinking that much again. Now, do you go out and drink that much tonight? Probably not. But are you ever going to do it again? Probably. Because if you look back upon your life, the number of times that you've overeaten, and you say you're never going to do it, and then you overeat again, it's a very high percentage. Same with drinking. Same with any other thing that feels good in the moment and has bad term effects in the future. Human beings live in the present. I am arguing with my partner today and I want a divorce today because I am never gonna be happy again. You're gonna be happy again. You're gonna get over the argument and it's probably gonna be your fault. So the price of Bitcoin is very, very much right now wedded to the fate of the NASDAQ. The fate of the NASDAQ is going to be just fine year after year. Over the past 50 years, both The markets have gone up an average of 10% a year. You're doubling your money every 6 years. You're fine. Who cares what happened this year? With Bitcoin, it's a little different. With Bitcoin, a lot of the price is driven by feelings, not data, because there's no earnings reports. Crypto is not making money. They're not making a product that people are using right now. So it's like, how do we feel about it? Right now, what we feel about it is that it's a scam. It's dangerous. It's wrong. And it's never going to be something that I want to do again. But feelings change, and feelings change very quickly for humans. And that is why it's very, very hard for us to predict the future about anything, but particularly when it comes to finances. And before you think that it's just human beings that can't predict the future, the people at Goldman Sachs are not reliant on just human beings. They're reliant upon a lot of computers. It's computers that are coming out with these numbers. They crunch all data, historical data. They crunch so many things, and they spew out those numbers. Now, they have to be verified by their analysts, and their people are like, well, this is what we think, this is what we don't think. But by and large, those numbers of every large firm are coming out are being driven by computers. And the computers are wrong. So it's not just human beings that are wrong, it's computers that are wrong. So for 2023, it's been a really rough year for crypto. It's been full of crooks. It's been full of, I think the main thing right now that a lot of people are saying about crypto is it needs to have a utilitarian use of today, for today. Right now, the only thing that can do that is Bitcoin. Everything else, Ethereum's close, but everything else is years away. Solana's years away. Avalanche is years away. ADA's years away. They're all years away. Bitcoin's not. Bitcoin has a utilitarian use today. But is it going to stay with mass adoption? Are enough people going to use it, especially internationally, that it becomes something that can be relied upon and trusted year after year? That remains to be seen. Thank you for joining us. I hope you're having a great holiday season. I hope you have a wonderful new year. Take care. You can always follow us at newcompasscrypto.com, and please like and subscribe on our YouTube channel. Thank you so much. Take good care. Bye-bye.